most of the major media here. And today I thought it was important to just unveil the new executive team that will support our agenda for the next 2 years. I was here 2 years ago unveiling the first executive team that has assisted me for the last 2 years to carry out our agenda, our 6-point agenda. And because the term of the executive members is coming to an end, I know you had a lot of anxiety from last week. Lakini kaona leo let me unveil the new team. But before I do that, I want to take this opportunity to appreciate the men and women who have served in the cabinet for the last 2 years at the executive. They have done an exemplary job. Kongowea is ready. We have a population of almost 2 million. So we have many other Kenyans who can serve in those programs. So what we are unveiling today will just be a team that will help you. But that one does not mean that if your name does not feature in the list of today, that you don't have an opportunity to serve in the account in different opportunities. So I want to appreciate in a big way the chief officers, the CEC's advisors, ambao wamesaidia kazi for the last 2 years, and for those who are likely to have an opportunity to continue serving with their respective dockets. I want you to take it as a challenge, and then of course you double your efforts. We all this with the people of Kongowea, because for me to succeed, we need to have a team that is agile, a team that is responsive, a team that is ready to run and even work 24/7. We need people who are self-driven, people who are responsible to deliver to their mandate. And for those ones that are willing today, that not feel that now you are very articulate with a lot of expectations from people and what they are supposed to achieve, and you can only but demand the very best from you. You need to exceed expectations from the people. Without much ado, ladies and gentlemen, in order to improve service delivery and achieve our transformation agenda for the people of Kongowea, I hereby wish to communicate the following executive changes in my team. The first is the Ministry of Trade and Industrialization. The acting CEC to that ministry will be Honorable Sabula, who is currently the Deputy Governor. Sabula will be acting as the CEC for Trade, Industrialization and Tourism. The Chief Officers will be Chief Officer for Trade, Faith Gitira, and Chief Officer for Industrialization and Tourism, Saxon Will. That does for the Ministry of Trade, Industrialization. In the Office of the Governor, the County Secretary and Head of Public Service is Dr. Lawrence Omuhaka, and the following are the respective Chief Officers. Deputy County Secretary is CPA Samson Otieno. Chief Officer Service Delivery, Dr. Vitalis Sakwe. Chief Officer, Resource Mobilization, Dr. George Barak Otieno. Chief of Staff, Kennedy Ejesa Ubeng. Advisor Strategy and Governance, Alfred Zaidi Asabuli. Political Advisor, Kasim Were. Gender Advisor, Christine Kibungoi Osido. Youth Advisor, Emmanuel Makota. Ministry of Finance, Planning, ICT, e-government, and communication. The acting CEC will be Dr. Lawrence Omuhaka. Chief Officer for Finance and Budget, Dr. June Wajuma. Acting Chief Officer, ICT, Dr. June Wajuma. Acting Chief Officer, E-Government and Communication, Dr. Vitalis Masako. Acting Chief Officer, Economic Planning, CPA Samson Otieno. Number 4, the Ministry of Roads, Energy and Public Works. The CEC is Architect Patrick Kundu. The Acting Chief Officer for Roads and Energy, Engineer Joseph Sweater. Chief Officer, Public Works, Pascal Were. Number 5, the Minister of Lands, Housing, Urban Areas, and Fiscal Planning. The acting CEC is Architect Patrick Kundu. Chief Officer, Urban Development and Housing, Shakir Adam. Acting Chief Officer, Lands, Survey and Fiscal Planning, Shakir Adam. In that ministry, you have an acting CEC, that is Kundu, an acting Chief Officer for Land, Survey and Fiscal Planning, Shakir, and substantive Chief Officer for Urban Development, of course, Shakir Adam. Number 5, the Minister of Public Service and County Administration. The substantive CEC is Dr. Wolfer Okoth. The Chief Officer for Public Service is Principal Tipa, and Chief Officer for Administration, Doreen Amoga. Number 7, Education, Science and Technology. The acting CEC is Dr. Wolfer Okoth. The acting Chief Officer for Education, Science and Technology Mariam well. That ministry as an acting CEC and an acting chief officer. Number 8, the Ministry of Water, Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change. The substantive CEC is Penina Mkabane. Substantive Chief Officer for Water, Mariam Were. Substantive Chief Officer for Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change is Bill Sling. Number 9, the Ministry of Health Services. The acting CEC is Penina Mkabane. Chief Officer, Medical Services, David Alina. Acting Chief Officer, Public Health, Rose Mohanda. Number 10, the Ministry of Social Services, Culture, Gender, Youth, Sport and Leisure Services. The substantive CEC is Moffat Mandela. The acting Chief Officer for Social Services, Culture, and Gender is Dorina Mwoga. The acting Chief Officer, Youth, Sports, and Labor Services is Saxon Queen. The last one is the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperatives. The acting CEC is Moffat Mandela. Substantive Chief Officer for Agriculture is Emmanuel Kariuki. Substantive Chief Officer for Livestock and Fisheries is Jessica Wekwe Songa. And the acting Chief Officer for Cooperatives is Bill Slim. I would like to request the staff to accord the officers that have mentioned their support and cooperation. As I say, this is phase 1 of my cabinet and the executive. Next year, I'll also invite you for another session so that we can have a complete cabinet, especially for those positions where we have acting CECs and acting chief officers. Kwa hiyo machache, asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki.